AI is changing how people search, and if your radio station website isn't keeping up, you're going to be invisible. Today, we're diving into how radio stations and radio groups can future proof their online presence, not just to stay relevant, but to become the go to choice for local advertisers. Hi, it's Jim, and welcome to Better Radio Websites, the podcast that wants to help you get more visitors and the most revenue from your radio station website. Thank you so much for tuning in this week. And as a radio station owner or manager, your website has long served as the digital extension of your brand. At least I hope it has. It's a place for listeners to catch up on news, enter contests, stream, podcast, everything. But in the age of AI-driven search, that static online brochure won't cut it anymore, especially if you're trying to convince advertisers that you're the smartest buy in town. Not only will you just not be in whatever results that AI kicks back, you just won't appear at all, not even an option. So I was looking in Street Fight magazine, the website, and a recent article made it very, very clear. Any website, whether it's a radio station website or not, that isn't consistently publishing fresh, local, trustworthy content will struggle to remain visible within search engines. And if Google can't find you, neither will your future advertisers. So this is why it's very, very important that you do things and put things in place now in order for the AI searches to be able to find you and recommend you. All right, so search engines like Google, they're just evolving. I'm sure if you've done any Google recent searches that you notice that there's an AI summarization at the very beginning, and then there's those actual results and search results below that. Well, with AI summarizing search results now, before even users can visit a website, the only content that gets surfaced is what AI trusts. And that trust comes from consistent quality content. Like I said, static websites, they're going to be essentially invisible to this new model. So if you think that all you need is a stream button and some information on where your radio station is and maybe a couple advertisers on there, that website is not going to be found at all if somebody even does a search for radio stations in your market. So that's why what we're going to talk about today is so very, very important. It's a wake-up call for radio stations, but it's also a massive opportunity here, okay? Because if you do some of these things that we talk about today, you're going to be found in those search results, whether if it's listeners are looking for you or especially advertisers. Now, your station may be the go-to source for local news, sports, community updates on the air. But unless your website reflects that same level of relevance and engagement, you're missing out on two fronts. One, audience reach. Potential listeners and sponsors will search for information online before waiting for it to show up on your online stream or on the radio. All right. So if your website is stale or if it's bare, they won't see you as a serious media outlet, somebody that's worth their time, because again, your website is a direct reflection of your on air. Even if they don't hear your radio station, if they go and they do a search and they find your outdated website from the early 2000s, then they're going to get a bad feeling about your radio station as a whole. And next week, we're actually going to be talking about the psychology of all of that. Number two is that advertiser appeal. Businesses want to advertise on platforms that reach local audiences consistently and show up in Google searches, because the first thing that they're going to do as a new advertiser coming to your market, before your salesperson reaches out to them, before it's even brought up in the Rotary or the other business meetings and stuff like that, they're going to do a website search for your radio station. And unless they find a robust, regularly updated website, you're not going to be as an attractive local advertising partner to them. So that's why this is important. Now, you should, like I said, be future-proofing your website now, and all of that is going to start with content. AI search models thrive on websites that are regularly updated with useful, local, relevant information. But not all radio websites should approach content the same way, obviously, right? Because if you're managing a single station, you should focus on publishing consistent local content that builds trust both for listeners and search engines. This includes daily local news covering anything from school events to weather updates, community stories, city council meetings, anything. A stoplight is out at the corner of so and so and so and so. All right. I mean, anything could be a local news story. Event listings like concerts, fundraisers, parades, yard sales, sporting events, that sort of thing. Even obituaries and public interest stories. These are sometimes often overlooked, but they can bring real community value and regular returning visitors. Obituaries, you may think, what? But in the smaller markets, for some reason, obituaries are some of the most viewed pages on those websites. And that kind of hyper-local content ensures that when listeners or advertisers search for what's going on in your local area, your radio station shows up in that list of results, hopefully at the top. Now, that's kind of dealing with listeners or whatever. What about for, let's say, if you have a kind of like a market website that showcases all of the things for your radio stations in your local market, a website that's not really positioned for listeners, but for advertisers. A lot more local groups are getting these kinds of websites. And if you're managing multiple stations under a single corporate or regional brand like that, your content strategy is going to be different. Instead of being toward local events and stuff like that, it should shift toward marketing and thought leadership for potential advertisers. Because, like I say, if somebody doesn't know how to create a local 60-second versus a 15-second spot, and they may do a search for that online, wouldn't it be awesome if your local radio station group website showed up in those results as the preferred AI answer to that question? Right then, if your market website showed up in that results under the AI recommended, this is how you do that, you already got them as a client because they're going to trust you right away. Some things that you could do to put on this website are educational blog posts, share tips on effective radio advertising, how to craft that great spot, and why radio outperforms digital ads in many local markets. Success stories and case studies showcase local businesses that saw great results from the campaigns on your radio stations and on your radio station websites. Advertiser focus news, trends on audio advertising, Nielsen data, and other national studies that back up the power of radio. All of this kinds of content can really, if you think about it, if you use something like our AI content helper, can be created with AI on a regular basis and really kind of be set on automatic. So all you have to do is just go in there, kind of proofread, maybe add in a local testimonial or something like that, and hit go on it. All right. But all of these posts reinforce your position as the trusted resource in local marketing and help guide potential advertisers from interest to action. And like I said, if your website shows up in those AI recommended search results, then you're just gold to them because you are the highest echelon of knowledge that they can get. And hey, you're local too, so you get me, you get what I want. You know, at Skyrocket Radio here, we've seen how consistent publishing not only improves SEO, but it transforms the way that advertisers perceive a radio station. Not just their website, the radio station as a whole. They see a vibrant, community-connected platform that amplifies their message. And like I said, if you got that, you are gold with more advertisers, and we all want more of those, right? And hey, don't forget about mobile too, because we're sitting here talking about your website, but as you know that more than half of all content is consumed on smartphones now. So your mobile app should reflect the same level of just a dynamic content. Real-time updates, push notifications, streaming content all contribute to a rich listener and advertiser experience. So these advertisers out there, they may be starting as a radio fan, but then move to being an advertiser fan of your radio station. So they may already have your mobile app downloaded, but if they're having trouble, that may give them sort of a sense that they may have trouble whenever they start advertising on your radio station. So you want to be sure that your mobile app is legit and that your website is, of course, mobile friendly, because all of these will get picked up by AI engines scanning the web looking for that great content. And hopefully you're at like I say, in those trusted results of AI recommendations. And so the bottom line is that AI-driven search is here. It's not something that's a fad. It's not going away. As a matter of fact, I do see the one day you're going to ask a search engine a question and you'll just get the answer. You won't get a bunch of other, websites down below all of those answers. You'll just get the answer, and it'll ask you if you want more, which you probably won't, because you'll be getting the most right answer. All right. So all of this is changing the rules of visibility and discoverability when it comes to really every business, not just radio stations. So this isn't just a tech trend or anything like that. It's a new way for you to compete for attention and advertising dollars. So hopefully you take this advice and go out there and seize that. All right. So if you want to be seen as the go-to source in your market, your website has to prove it each and every day. Hey, do you have a platform that's ready for this kind of growth? If you don't, reach out to us. We're here to help at skyrocketradio.com. Hopefully this has helped you. If it has, be sure to like, subscribe, and share. We so much appreciate it. Have an awesome week online making your radio station website better. We'll see you next time.